name's Rich Hayden. I own Virtual Reality Racing Club. We're here at Goodwood Festival of Speed. I'm here with Purple Sector Performance, which is a race driver training, all levels, club championship, all the way up to Le Mans level. What we do is we help them out with race simulation and driver coaching, and we do that using our SimRace Pro simulators, which you see behind me. They're really high-level simulation. We use virtual reality to make sure that the immersion for the driver is as best as it could be, and giving them the accuracy to be able to follow the right lines and be as accurate with their driving style as they can be. One of the things we use with that is the HTC Vive Pro headset with a real high resolution. It's fantastic for driver training. It's the only way to drive a racing simulator. The average speed improvement or time improvement for a driver, a pro driver, going from screens to VR, is minimum is 1 second a lap, and the average is anywhere between 1.5 and 2 seconds per lap.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Bonsoir, mesdames et messieurs, et bienvenue ici à Paul Ricard en France. Welcome, everyone, to the opening round of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries, brought to you in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. My name's Alex Goldschmidt, your official commentator, and over the next 10 weeks, we will crown a new Touring Car eSeries champion. Of course, we have real-life drivers and also sim racing drivers. Just some of the names on the list you might actually recognise from British motorsport in the current side of things. One of the biggest announcements quite recently was Alex Toth-Jones returning for this series. He is running in one of the 3 Hyundai i30Ns backed by MSL Motorsport. We'll come onto the calendar in just a second. He's just joined IN2 Racing for the Porsche Sprint Challenge GP Cup a little bit later on. But the calendar to the left-hand side of your screen, as you can see, Paul Ricard this week. Then we head to Belgium to Zolder. Then it's over to Italy to Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. The Circuit de Catalunya Barcelona is the 4th stop on the calendar before the halfway point is hit in the Garden of England, Brands Hatch Grand Prix. Then 1 week later, we head to Norfolk to the Snetterton 300 circuit, before we then head to Asia, Australia, and then finally the United States of America with Sepang, the round after Snetterton for round on that particular round, so that will be round 7. Shanghai will be round 8 with Bathurst, the mountain, Mount Panorama, on the 18th of August, which will be our penultimate round, and the season finale will hit the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Also, you can see the formats for each race evening. So qualifying will be getting underway in just under 10 minutes' time. Race 1 will be 20 minutes in duration, and it will be a standard grid start. Standing starts only at 7 p.m. And then we will have a full reverse grid race for race 2. There'll be Success Ballast. There's also race liveries being showcased here this evening, and also race engineer service. And just look at some of the prizes. The OBP Esports pedals as the first prize. A SimLab P1X chassis for the runner-up, a Fanatec SQ shifter for 3rd, a Thurstmaster T-LCM for 4th, and a £100 Ebuyer voucher for the rounding out the top 5. And if you want to enter, there are still places on the grid. Head to send an email over to info@virtualrealityracingclub.com. And yeah, just being here at Paul Ricard, virtually speaking, we're at the club circuit, 2.369 miles, 3.812 kilometers. It was in operation at the circuit just based outside of Marseille in Le Castellet between 1986 and 1999. It was actually constructed in 1969 by pastis magnate Paul Ricard, and then ended up under the ownership of a company owned by Bernie Ecclestone. It's held the French Grand Prix since the early 1970s, as early as 1971, and it is the current host of the current generation of Formula One cars who are set to get back into action just very shortly after the COVID-19 pandemic in Austria. It's also hosted the FIA Motorsport Games, the World Touring Car Championship, MotoGP, and the FIM Endurance World Championship. So what's even more interesting about this is the fact that all the drivers will be battling for great prizes. Rich Hayden is our race director. The stream, courtesy of Mike Yao and the team at Simply Race. And just really, for the next 10 weeks, I'm looking forward to some fantastic action over the course of the next couple of months, because we have the likes of Alex Toth-Jones, who I just mentioned. We have the Accelerate drivers of both Senna Proctor and Chris Smiley, who's recently joined the team. They're going to be running in the i30N Saloons in this year's championship when that gets back underway in August. We've got James West, who's one of the more prevalent sim racers in terms of Twitch streaming, aka Gamermuscle. He'll be running in one of the two Alfa Romeos on the grid, the Giulietta in the number 7. Then we've got Ryan Elliott, who's also doing another championship, which I just so happen to be commentating on, the E-Team Brit GT3 Challenge. He's running in the Senatec BMW series. We've got Kenny Press, who again I think has gone with the trusty Peugeot 308. Luke Whitehead in the LWR. I think that is the Hyundai number 21. We've got Mikko Salminen in the VXE Racing Team number 26. Paul Laramie will jump into the Audi Red RS3 LMS this time around. He'll be running in the number 31 as an independent. Jack Mcintyre, Konstantin Kletzer, Kobe Likens, the other driver in another Alfa Romeo TCE, as we're going to call them here. They are bespoke for this championship. We've got Rich Hayden running in the Audi RS3, and he will be running again in the number 50. We've got Dave Marshall, who won the inaugural Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries alongside with teammate at that particular time, Andy Mellors. Dave is going to be running in the Honda Civic this time, as will Andy, and Andy will be running with the Teenage Cancer Trust livery on his front doors. We've got Andy Carroll back again in the Cupra Leon. We've got Josh Stanton and Isaac Smith with John Cole in the Bod Racing number 302. So feel free to get involved, get interactive. I am sort of looking at some of the comments on particular championships themselves, but we've got everyone in the chat for this, and we are pretty much coming towards the end, the last 5 minutes of practice, and it looks like the car of Smith in the 123, the Accelerate driver. He's currently running on a best lap of 1 minute 30.461. And when I spoke with Dave Marshall a couple of days ago, because I spoke with him and also Isaac, they were looking for some speed, and Dave said, well, it's a bit of a different car from the i30. I kind of thought that was probably the case, but he's only 6 thousandths off of Smith at the moment. So there we are with, that is the number 37, and Jack Mcintyre, one of the 3 Honda Civics running under the Virtual Reality Racing Club schemes. And he's running under the VRRC JMR entry, currently running in P10 at the moment. So a lot of runoff area here at Paul Ricard. It's characteristic of the circuit, and in many respects you will find that once we go racing a little bit later on this evening, it is going to be all hands on deck, and everyone's going to steel themselves ready for what's going to happen. There's Rich Hayden in the number 50 Audi RS3, currently in P12 at the moment through this practice session. Not much longer to go now. And some of these liveries looking absolutely brilliant here. There's Chris Smiley in the Hyundai i30N. He will be running one of those alongside teammate Senna Proctor this season. They both switched teams for the 2020 campaign, where Colin Turkington looks to rack up a fifth championship. As you can just see, the left rear of the Hyundai sort of looking as if it was trying to stop as he was breaking through into the corner. So he comes out of the Virage du Pont along the start-finish straight, and he's currently running in P11 at the moment. There's Mikko Salminen, a bit more colourful for the Finnish driver's Volkswagen Golf. It was a bit white last time in the previous series, which concluded a few weeks ago. Kenny Press goes up to P16 at the minute. Salminen running in P9. Proctor's in the pits, Mellors in the pits. Whitehead is in the pit. Max Coates is also scheduled to be back with us. Hasn't yet set a lap time. He's also in one of the other Honda Civics that occupy the grid here. So there is John Cole in the Bod Racing Honda Civic, and has also got the logo of the Daniel Ricciardo Series UK, which they are scheduled to reopen their shop on the 22nd of June. And if you're wondering if that is the one and only Daniel Ricciardo that series is aligned with, you'd be spot on there. So we're coming to the last couple of moments before we get into a qualification session to start the action rolling here over the next 10 weeks. So Smith leads ahead of Marshall, Butler, Elliott, Toth-Jones in 5th, Whitehead, Mellors, Proctor, Salminen and Mcintyre. There's Alex Toth-Jones. There was a vote on the MSL Motorsport Consultancy social media channels as who is going to be the best out of the MSL Motorsport Consultancy trio between Alex, Sena and Chris. Well, a lot of them actually voted in favour of Alex himself. So we will see as things proceed a little bit later on what happens. Improvements have been made by Mellors and Proctor and also Mcintyre in the latter stages. Now, some interesting facts about Paul Ricard, because obviously you've got the full circuit that is currently used by Formula One is over 5.8 kilometers long, and you've got that incredibly long Mistral Straits, which actually has a chicane. And before Signe, it's basically followed by Signe corner, and the fastest driver out there. Well, we had Nigel Mansell that actually we've had Senna have a crash back in '85 at the French Grand Prix after the Renault engine failed, and he went off backwards at Signe. Mark Sira from Switzerland in qualifying in 1985 actually recorded 338 kilometers per hour, which is around 210 miles an hour in some respects. But the main thing is that we are very shortly going to be getting underway with our first out of 10 qualification sessions here. 20 minutes in duration here at Paul Ricard, as we await for our first drivers to come out of the pit lane. So let's go to a quick advert before we get the qualifying action underway here at Paul Ricard. Welcome back as qualifying well underway. 17 minutes and 45 seconds on the clock remaining. There is Butler in the 74 Honda Civic. Currently leading the way with the 1 minute 47.906. A bit of news about Simply Race, our good friends who are providing the live stream all the way through the next 10 weeks. Breaking news, they are reopening as of the 4th of July. And yes, in America, that would be classed as Independence Day. But let's call it Simply Race Reopening Day. It's great to hear that news from Mike himself directly. So we have got 15 drivers out on the circuit. And in the there is Andy Mellors in the VRRC AMR. Oh, as one of the i30Ns goes curb hopping here at Le Castellet. So, yeah, going to be very interesting how these drivers tackle the changes in elevation. Obviously, they've got to look at camber. So, 14th position at the moment for Andy Mellors. Let's see if he does improve very, very shortly as he comes down the main. Looks to be, I think, around the that's around the Mistral Straight, if I remember correctly. That will be Scene Corner that he's going through. So Bartlett's put in a benchmark of a 1 minute 30.911. That's Dave Marshall that's just gone even quicker. The winner of the inaugural VRRC Touring Car eSeries. He's currently running in the Mini Challenge UK eSeries, and he's had to fight, as he's mentioned to me. Alex Toth-Jones and Senna Proctor go 5th and 6th respectively. There's Marshall himself hustling that Honda Civic like it was going out of fashion, and he's definitely doing the best out of everybody at the moment in the Honda Civic. There's Andy Carroll in the number 95 Cupra Leon. Very different livery for him as opposed to what we saw last time. We saw the very sort of dark matte military green on his Cupra. So Ryan Elliott from RSR, he's currently P3 at the moment. And then it is the number 123 of Isaac Smith from Accelerate. That is currently rounding out the top 4. Alex Toth-Jones from MSL Motorsport Consultancy Team rounds out the top 5. Ahead of Senna Proctor, then it is Jack Mcintyre, Andy Mellors, Chris Smiley, and then Kenny Press rounding out the top 10. All covered by around 2.8 seconds at the moment. Carroll currently in 12th place. Rich Hayden currently circulating in 15th. The number 50. There is Senna Proctor with the Draper tools emblazoned on his Hyundai i30N, and I think he's just behind. That is Alex Toth-Jones. So the MSL Motorsport Consultancy duo looking to help each other out a bit as they try to get closer and closer to Dave Marshall's blistering time, which is over 0.4 of a second quicker than Rob Butler from Suspension Secrets Racing Esports. 14.5 minutes remain. There is Kenny Press in the number 5 Peugeot 308. Now he's currently running in 11th position, and that looks to be, I think that is Chris Smiley just behind in the 3rd of the, I think that might have been, I'm not sure. Looks like that i30 is now pulled off the circuit. So at the moment, Kenny Press is still 2.8 seconds off of Marshall, who was absolutely put in a benchmark that I don't think anyone saw coming. And that was very much the case in point when we had the inaugural season for the VRRC Touring Car eSeries. He was the one that literally went pole position, pole position, pole position, race victory, race victory. I think he took five race wins by, if memory serves me correctly. So at the moment, there are 2 drivers that have yet to set any competitive lap times here in qualification with 13 minutes and 20 seconds to go. That's Max Coates and Luke Whitehead in the numbers 71 and 21 respectively. There's Harry Omerod in the 77 Hyundai i30. Don't forget that if you do want to enter this season from round 2 onwards, which will take place at Circuit Zolder in Belgium, next Tuesday, which will be the 30th of June, as Salminen goes P8. Why not email info@virtualrealityracingclub.com. Bit of a lock up there, a major one there for the number 77 Hyundai. Marauders still down in 18th, 7.1 seconds off of the pace that's been set by Marshall. So Butler, Elliot, Smith, Toth-Jones, Mellors, they've all got some time to find as John Cole goes P14. Here we are on board in cockpit. And that is with Smith in the 123, Isaac Smith from Accelerate. He's one of 2 Accelerate cars with us. And the other one is supposed to be Josh Stanton, who's running in the number 99. And Smith now comes into the pit lane. So we've got just under 12 minutes of this qualification session still to go. Drivers in the pits at the moment include Smith, Hayden, and also Kenny Press. Max Coates has yet to set a lap time at the moment. There's Ryan Elliott, 3rd place at the moment. So you can actually see by the rear windows on both sides that they have actually an indicator of which position they're in, whether it is in the race or whether it is in qualification. As he goes down the start-finish straight here. Salminen goes up to P6. Let's see, does Elliot improve on that particular lap time? I don't think he has. No, 1 minute with 31.490. So that is about half a second off of his best lap time. So Rich Hayden just gets out of the way of the traffic. So a bit of a different side of things here. So they'll be coming through the Chicane Nord, which is a sort of an amendment of the Mistral Strait. So there is James West, aka Gamermuscle, in the number 7 Alfa Romeo Giulietta. 102 on the grid, along with Kobe Leekens. Leekens at the moment currently running in P12 in the number 44 Alfa Romeo, with the nice bit of touch of the old Gulf liveries there as well. So, bit off track there from West. So West currently, as Chris Smiley jumps up into P6 ahead of Salminen and Whitehead, with all 3 of them actually making improvements on that particular last lap time. Just under half of the session remaining, 9 minutes and 52 on the clock to go. And it is still Dave Marshall that is leading the way for pole position here at the moment. A win in the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries will net you a considerable amount of points ahead of this. But then you've got to look at the ballasts. 50 points for first, 44 for second, and 40 for third. Fastest lap in qualification will be 6 points, and fastest lap in each race will each net the driver 6 points as well. But there will be a maximum of Success Ballast, 150 kilos, and it will go as far as per. It's allocated according to championship positions, so they're all on even Stevens, a bit like the British Touring Car Championship when they start the season, as John Cole goes off in avoidance, I think just to keep out of the way. He's possibly on an outlap at the moment, as West comes down the start-finish straight. So the top 10 from 1st to 10th will have anywhere between 60 to 150 kilograms of ballast, and this is carried in qualification, race 1 and race 2. So any driver in this championship that is disqualified, does not start. Oh, big off for James West there. No, that's not what he wanted. At least he's still got time to recover. Luke Whitehead also having a few dramas, but currently sitting in 9th position in the Hyundai i30. Looks to be powered by Rich Energy there on the side of that livery. So any driver that does not start, does not finish, or gets disqualified from the race will not score in any way, shape or form in any of the races. So there is Alex Toth-Jones, still sitting in 5th position at the minute. Still plenty of time as we go into the last 7 minutes and 40 on the clock still to go. Flames virtually flying their way out of the back exhaust, the centre tailpipe of that i30. As that might be Whitehead that I think's just had a moment there in the number 21. So going down the Mistral, down to Signe before the Double Droit de Bossé. And just look how quick that corner is, even in a touring car. As Alex Toth-Jones has quite clearly demonstrated. He's not holding back in the Hyundai. So in terms of the running order at the moment, in terms of qualification, Dave Marshall in the 66 Honda leads the way, a 1 minute 30.479. But in the meantime, Isaac Smith has stealthily been chipping away at that provisional pole position lap time. He's only just under 3 tenths off, 1 minute 30.771. Then it is Rob Butler in the number 74 Suspension Secrets Racing Esports Honda Civic. Third place at the moment, 0.432 off of Marshall. Then it's Ryan Elliott in the number 2 from RSR in the Volkswagen Golf. It's one of the VRRC Honda Civic. No, that's Rich Hayden, my apologies. So he's in the VRRC liveried Audi RS3. So just keeping out of the way whilst... Toth-Jones just throws it in there. And right behind him, that's Senna Proctor. So that was definitely a good old Tiff Needell-style Scandinavian flick from Alex Toth-Jones into the chicane nord, and that could have really unsettled him quite significantly there. But not just him, I think the car decided, I'm not quite liking that, and he's gotten out of the way of Senna Proctor, so Proctor must be on a pretty decent lap. Proctor currently running in P6, and he's just, I think, 2.5 tenths of a second off of his MSL Motorsport Consultancy teammate. A big thank you for MSL Motorsport Consultancy for becoming the title sponsor of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries. So Chris Smiley makes it 3 Hyundais from 5th, 6th and 7th. Salminen in one of the Volkswagens in 8th. Then it's Luke Whitehead in another Hyundai in 9th in the 21. And then Andy Mellors rounds out the top 10. Jack McIntyre and Kobe Leakins round out the top 12 ahead of Rich Hayden, Andy Carroll, Harry Omerod, Kenny Press, and Max Coates now jumps into the party with just a handful of moments to spare. He's currently he's been competing in a multitude of championships. He's been racing quite recently in the E-Team Brit Summer Series, which concluded a few weeks ago, the inaugural Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car E-Series, where him and Tyson Zosker a few weeks ago actually had a great battle over what was a win in that, so he became a different winner that time around. Paul Laramie in 19th, so Max Coates. So I think we've got no Josh Stanton in for the first round. I'm wondering if there is some sort of issue, whether there's a possible disconnect or something that's come up, but hopefully we'll see Josh with us for the next round at Zolder. So 4 minutes to go in this session, 1/5 remaining on the clock. And Elliott's in the pits at the moment, so Ryan Elliott might be taking on a fresh set of tyres. As Bartlett throws it into the corner at Corbe des Signes, through into the Double Droit de Bossé. And these are the official corners as well. So next up will be Virage de Bendor. So you can just see how much momentum change there is when you go from one corner to another, as we go onto the door cam here with Butler taking as much as he dare when it comes to the outside curbs here at Paul Ricard, with just over 180 seconds on the clock remaining. Comes out of the final corner, Virage du Pont, and across the start-finish line. Let's see if he improves. Not on that particular occasion. A 1 minute 31.030 from Rob Butler as he goes wide at Pined. And so does Andy Carroll. Carroll still... Carroll's about 2.1 seconds off. In the meantime, Max Coates has made some inroads at the minute in the 71 Honda Civic. He's now currently P16. 2.535 seconds off of the time that Dave Marshall has really set early in this session, and no one has really had an answer. So looks like we've got yellow flags out at the moment. Speaking of the, as they say, speak of the devil, and he doth appear. There is Dave Marshall. Wondering if he's looking to get another lap or two in. So if he crosses the line with around 1 minute 45 to go, he will have an opportunity at 2 flying laps, or is he just going to park it in the pits and call it a day? Excuse me. So there is Jack Mcintyre in the VRRC JMR Honda Civic. So please, there are still time to get entries in for the next 9 rounds of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries, brought to you in association. Well, we might be full. We might have one place going spare, but if you do want to become a reserve on the grid list, I'm hearing that we might pretty much be full to bursting. Email info@virtualrealityracingclub.co.uk. and that will make sure that you will be considered for one of those particular spots. Sorry, .com, my apologies, not .co.uk. So there is Max Coates, and he's got just under... He's now got 50 seconds. So through Virage du Pont, that was Max Coates. So I have one more chance. Let's see if the proud Yorkshireman improves. He doesn't, because that was an outlap of 3 minute 22. Mellors has improved to P10, 1 minute 31.731. Rod's gone up to P15 in a 1 minute 32.861. John Cole's improved in lap time, but not in position, because he's about a quarter of a second off of Max Coates, who's now going through to the Chicane Nord. Let's just see how he improves. And in the background, that was John Cole from Bod Racing in the 302 Honda Civic. So checkered flag is out. That concludes the first session. That was a bit of a run wide for the car behind Max Coates. I think that might be Isaac Smith as Hayden goes up to P11 on his final attempt. Dave Marshall still with provisional pole position at the minute. 1 minute 30.479. Let's see if Max can better. Max Coates betters his time of 1 minute 33.014, as there is Isaac Smith, I think, behind him. So through the Virage du Pont comes both Max Coates, and that is Isaac Smith. Leakens goes 11th at the flag. Smith goes into the pits. Whitehead up into P5, deposing Toth-Jones. Max Coates on his final attempt puts in a 1 minute 32.116. That puts him 1.6 seconds off of Dave Marshall to put him into P13 at the end of the 20-minute session. But Dave Marshall gets the first set of points on the board here in the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries at Paul Ricard, brought to you in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. And so ahead, he is just ahead of Isaac Smith, who will line up on the front row in the 123 from Accelerate. And it is Rob Butler in the 74 and Ryan Elliott that will round out the top 2 rows in the number 2. Then it's Luke Whitehead and Alex Toth-Jones in the 21 and 11. That'll be row number 3 ahead of Senna Proctor. Chris Smiley, Mikko Salminen, Andy Mellors, Kobe Leakens, Rich Hayden, Max Coates, Jack Mcintyre, Andy Carroll, Harry Omerod. Then we have got the number 7 of James West from Gamermuscle, who had a bit of an off-track excursion in the Alfa Romeo a bit earlier on in this session. Then we've got Kenny Press, John Cole, and rounding out the 20 strong, it is Paul Laramie in the Audi RS3 TCE. So that concludes the session, and in Around about 8 minutes time, we will go lights out and racing for the first out of 2 races here. So 20 races in total. And obviously, it's going to be an exciting one. Join us in just a couple of minutes time when we have the build up for race 1 here in France. Well, ladies and gentlemen, along with the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries, you've just seen the adverts for the Mini Challenge UK eSeries, which is currently happening at this very moment in time. And the next round will be up this coming Saturday live with Richard John Neal behind the microphone for that particular occasion. And it's been a fantastic season so far. And without further ado, let's have the big man himself from the Virtual Reality Racing Club. Well, I think, no, it's Dave Marshall, our pole sitter from qualifying. My apologies there. Evening, Dave. That was a bit of a hard-fought... 6 points there. It wasn't easy because Isaac Smith was closing the gap over the session, wasn't he? Yeah. Hi, Dave. Can you hear me?
I can indeed, Alex. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Our inaugural Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries champion, but also you've been doing double duty in quite a few other things. Along with that, the Mini Challenge UK Series, which heads into battle this coming Saturday. But here at Paul Ricard, it's not the easiest of circuits, is it? The club circuit. It's quite technical in some points, especially when you've got the elevation changes and the sudden changes of direction when you go through Signe through to Double Droit de Bossé, the double right-hander. It's quite a tricky circuit here at Paul Ricard, wouldn't you say?
For me, it's definitely one of the harder tracks for actually seeing the apex points. Mm-hmm. So, you know, the pillar of your wind is normally right where you need to be looking. So yeah, it's a very hard track to be consistent on, and more so the tyres around this track just take an absolute beating. The front left, you've got overheating and running itself off the rim, and the back right tyre you've got going cold, so the balance of the car is just all over the shop. Not to mention really aggressive curbs, and the car doesn't really seem like to bounce either. So yeah, it's a very hard track in many aspects.
But obviously you've got Isaac Smith alongside. You know, Isaac has been no slouch in this qualification session. I mean, the Hyundais look pretty strong here. And then you look at the fact that the MSL Motorsport consultancy trio of Alex Toth-Jones, Senna, Proctor and Chris Smiley, and obviously those three are real world drivers. But for them to have an opportunity, they've shown us that they can compete in a similar situation, can't they?
Yeah, the Hyundais are a bit quick, don't they?
Yeah,
we'll wait and see what they're like down the straight. That's probably the main place where I would have thought there'd been a benefit. Realistically, I've followed Isaac a little bit round the track, and through the corners it seems very much a muchness. Civic's maybe a slightly longer wheelbase than the Hyundai. But other than that, we'll give it our all and see if we can get Isaac off the line.
Good stuff. Obviously, you're the first one to score points now, 6 points after qualifying. I mean, that's a good thing to have, and there's a motivator here this evening. But obviously, one thing I'll quickly touch on, the wheelbase. Now, obviously, does that help in terms of rotating the Honda Civic through the corners a bit easier, or can that be sort of either a help or a hindrance, in your honest opinion?
I think around this track, it's probably a little bit more stable over the curbs with it being longer wheelbase. But as you touched on before, the double right-hander where you're trying to get it turned in on the brakes, a little bit shorter wheelbase would probably help there. So different cars have different strengths in different places on the track, and it's just going to be a case of if Isaac gets past, calculating where's it going to be best to make the move. So I'll probably expect if Isaac gets passed off the line, or if I get overtaken, don't expect me to sit behind him for a few laps before I try a move, because it's going to be a bit about calculating this before you go for a move.
Definitely, I completely concur with you about that, and I look forward to seeing if you can get the drag off Isaac off the line, or whether you're going to do him in the twisty stuff. Good luck this evening, mate.
Cheers, Alex. Thanks.
No problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are literally, I think, just a couple of seconds away, or moments away, from getting the race from red to green here at Paul Ricard. 2 20-minute races in total. The second one will be a complete reverse grid. And if you have watched the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries that was previously run, it sends a bit of cat amongst the pigeons situation. And I'm pretty much expecting that here at Paul Ricard. But what a fantastic circuit, such greats. We're just virtually outside of, we're in Le Castellet, just outside of Marseille here at Paul Ricard. A fantastic facility, and they are lining up on the grid as we speak. So, ladies and gentlemen, grab a hold of something, wait until the lights go out, and we will be racing here in the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries. Kick-starting the action of first of 20 races, and we go off and away. And it's a great start from Marshall off the line. He's pulled ahead by half a car length, and just behind is Butler in the other Honda Civic. And it looks like that it's getting a bit tasty just behind as Smith goes up the inside past Marshall for the first time. Oh, bit of clattering in. Ryan Elliott hits Luke Whitehead, and then Elliot gets spun around in the first corner. There are cars everywhere, as quite a few drivers have started to make some significant increases, as Rich Hayden, I think, was having a bit of drama there as well. Dave Marshall now down into what is effectively third position. He's trying to chase Rob Butler down in the 74 Suspension Secrets Racing Esports Honda Civic, and gets past for P2, going through into Signe. And just behind is Alex Toth-Jones and the leading MSL Motorsport consultancy Hyundai i30, as looks like that Isaac Smith went a little bit wide just going through the exit of the latter part of the Double Droit de Bossé. There is Paul Laramie. He's got Kenny Press with him, and then he's also got the now recovering Ryan Elliott, and then they've got also Andy Mellors. So quite a few cars compromised in the first turn skirmish. Oh, now, was there a little bit of a nudge there on the back bumper of Laramie in the Audi from Kenny Press? That has allowed Elliot to get past, as well as Mellors. And already just trying to keep an eye open on the gap. Smith leads by just over 1 second from Marshall. Butler in third, Toth-Jones, Whitehead, Proctor, Coates is all the way up into 7th, having started from 13th position on the grid. So 18 minutes, 5 seconds plus an additional lap. Still to go, as the top 5 have significantly broken away. as there is a gap of around 3.9 seconds between Luke Whitehead and Senna Proctor. That's 5th and 6th respectively, as they head their way down the Ligne Droite du Mistral, the Mistral Straight. A lot shorter than you would expect normally in Formula 1. Courbe des Cygnes taken through quite significantly. I'd like to see what gear and what speed they're doing. They're probably in sort of as we go with Harry Omerod. In the 77, looks like that Hyundai sustained a little bit of damage. The front windscreen is definitely going to need to be replaced after this one. He's currently circulating in 18th position. Kobe Leekins has just got past Jack McIntyre for 11th place, as Alex Toth-Jones has got Luke Whitehead in number 21. Hyundai in the number 21 car. So it's Hyundai versus Hyundai in the battle for 4th position. Marshall, in the meantime, is closing the gap on Isaac Smith in the 123, and has gone and put in the fastest lap of the race on this particular lap. As they've just gone into lap number 4, 1 minute 32.992. That is around 7 tenths off of his pole position time. And after qualification, race 1 and race 2, ballast is applied. So here's Ryan Elliott. He's making up places up the inside of John Cole. To 13th goes the number 2 Volkswagen from RSR. So nice work there. Even though he did qualify a bit higher up the field, he got turned around in the very first corner in Pinède. So the left side looking a bit dented on the front left door. As I think just ahead, that's Kobe Leekins trying to go past Andy Carroll through into Cygnes. And effectively, what's happened there is that Leekins has gone up the inside through on Carroll, and Mellors has gone up the inside too of the Cupra Leon. That's pretty good going from those guys. I mean, Andy Carroll just basically left it all wide open, and now here comes Ryan Elliott, and he's going to go towards the outside of the Cupra Leon. As now they're into the very tight, twisty section here, which you have to carry momentum through. As Leekins has got McIntyre. That was McIntyre, not Mellors, who's actually down in 14th, so my apologies there. As they go through the Virage du Pont, a bit too much curb taken by Kobe Leekins, and that is allowing Jack McIntyre to go alongside. As we look on the left-hand side of the screen, Isaac Smith is being hounded by our pole sitter, Dave Marshall, who's put in another fastest lap of the race. 1 minute 30.857 on lap number 4, as he's running the back bumper of the Hyundai, trying to chase and trying to force the mistake. He jinks to the right there, does the Honda, goes side by side with the Hyundai i30. So it's Smith versus Marshall, and Marshall gets through, retakes the lead on lap number 5. And Carroll being a battle with Elliott, who's dropped a couple of places. Isaac Smith, in the meantime, is probably going to be ending up a little bit further back, as there has been a driver pitting, and that is the number 44 Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCE of Kobe Leekins, who was running in that little skirmish for around about the lower part of the top 12. So Carroll 13th, and he's got Kenny Press in the Union Jack adorned Peugeot 308 TCE, and it is 0.2 of a second between them. 13 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap still to go on the clock here at Paul Ricard for race 1 out of 2. Improvements on lap time by Proctor, Coates, West, McIntyre, Mellors, Carroll, Press, Laramie, Cole, Hayden, Omerod, Salminen, who's down in 19th position. Kobe Leekins has rejoined at the tail end of the field in 20th place. So Proctor is around 4 seconds away from Luke Whitehead. Proctor doing a good run, as is his BTCC teammate, Chris Smiley, in the numbers 18 and 22 Hyundais respectively. Max Coates has just put in a personal best. He's currently running in P8, and he is half a second behind Chris Smiley. So this will be a pretty good, interesting duel here. I mean, let's not forget that Max Coates has actually competed in the British Touring Car Championship a few years ago, back in the Infiniti Q50s, which are now being we're now seeing them back with Aidan Moffat and 2017 British Touring Car champion Ash Sutton, who's definitely beginning plenty of laps in behind the laps of sim time. And you can just see the left rear wheel, as we saw with Chris Smiley in practice a little bit earlier on, that Max Coates was doing the same. The brakes seeming to just sort of stop that wheel from spinning around, so it allows the car to grab traction from the rear end. So all of these cars front wheel drive, front engined, as, oh, that's a bit dicey there, as Smiley trying to close the gap on Coates, goes back up the inside, oh, gives him a bit of a barge in the right door. So now Max Coates, that has done all that work, all that hard work, has now got to do it all again. But he's still got 11 minutes and 37 seconds plus an additional lap still to go. So Omerod in the pits. Oh, now John Cole's in the pits too. Salminen's just set a personal best and is up to P17. There's Jack Mcintyre, and also that's James West, Gamermuscle in the number 7. He's currently streaming at the moment. He's got over 56,000 followers on Twitch, and he's basically streaming to them all at the moment. There was a bit of a lock-up now. I couldn't really tell. Now, was that James West or was that Scott Mcintyre? So everyone apart from Harry Omerod is actually out on the circuit at the moment. So Jack Mcintyre has got about 5.5 seconds between himself and Max Coates as we fast approach half time here in the opening race here at Paul Ricard for the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries. Of course, in association with Motorsport, MSL Motorsport Consultancy. So a big thank you to AOC, Vive, AlphaSync, Heating Shop, SimLab, OBP and Simply Race for their support. Oh, bit of a tank slapper. That was not what James West wanted again. So in qualification he's gone off, and that has dropped him down. That's going to drop him out of the top 15 if he doesn't get on the circuit pretty quickly. The back end stepped out one way, then the car went the other, and he just lost it completely. Luckily enough, James West has regained his position on the circuit, but not in the position he was in, because he's now got Andy Carroll about 0.6 of a second behind him. As Mcintyre throws it in with full gusto and vigour through the Courbe des Cygnes into the Double Doigt de Bossé. He's trying to bridge a gap between himself and Andy Mellors, who's about 1.5 seconds adrift. Good showing from Alex Toth-Jones at the moment, the leading MSL Motorsport consultancy, MSL Motorsport Hyundai i30. You can see that these cars will pick up some damage. And some have come off a bit easier than others, as Max Coates has got past Chris Smiley again. And now they've swapped positions once more, so it's been bashing door panels, I think, between the pair of them. So we have 8 minutes and 50 seconds to go, plus an additional lap. Air temperature, virtually speaking, currently 20 degrees Celsius. Track temperature, 2 degrees higher at 22 degrees Celsius. I'm just going to keep an eye on, well, Alex Toth-Jones has just put in his personal best of a 1 minute 31.633. And he was over 0.2 quicker than Rob Butler on that last lap, as that Hyundai i30 looks to be absolutely cornering on rails at the limit of adhesion.
Maybe the tyres overheating or something.
So we are now on board. This is actually James West's own stream. So he's interacting with those watching. So Like in the livery on his Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCE, currently running in P14. And just up ahead he's got Carroll, and that's Andy Carroll, one of the independents in the 95, and then also Kenny Press. You can just see by the onboard the different lines that the drivers are taking. Press actually locks up just then. And then Carroll has a moment of his own. So I'm just keeping an eye that Isaac Smith is actually closing in on Dave Marshall for the lead. You can see the split screen that we've got here. So what's actually happening in the race on the top right hand corner of your screen. So let's just I'm just going to have a quick look. I'm looking at the corner of my eye as he brakes from around 210 to 215 kilometers an hour in top gear, and you can just see how tight it is and how twisty it is through the initial couple of corners here at Paul Ricard. As a little bit of a moment there again on the chicane Nord, now onto the Mistral. And good to see that James is getting plenty of support from those people that are watching his stream at the moment. But there is Andy Carroll in the 95 Independent Cupra Leon TCE, and Kenny Press in the Peugeot, not letting him go by any means necessary. Just under, it was just around 0.2 of a second between the pair, and the gap has gone up, and then it's quickly gone down. So the Peugeot seems to have the run on the Cupra coming out of the corners and through the change of direction. Seems like the Cupra has a little bit of the edge as we go on board. Bonnet cam with Andy Carroll down through the Virage du Pont, down the main straightaway. Just over 5.5 minutes remaining, plus an additional lap. And it is starting to become apparent as that Dave Marshall is clearing off into the distance as Mikko Salminen is having a battle with Rich Hayden. This is the battle for 15th position. Hayden just ahead, Salminen in the tow, looking towards the right hand side of the Audi RS3. Gets the inside run. He's not actually alongside Rich Hayden, but can he brake a little bit deeper going into the first corner? He does. And Hayden carefully lets him have enough racing room and sweeps around the outside. There's Mikko Salminen in the 26 Volkswagen Golf to just cement that place, which is now 14th ahead of Rich Hayden. Nice work by Mikko. Shares the same first name as Mikko Hirvonen from formerly of the WRC. But good showing from Andy Carroll in the 95 Cupra. He's kept Kenny Press at bay, and now closing on him is looking to be, I think, now is James West actually closing a little bit, because they just got past and lapped Corby Leekens in the other Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCE. Senna Proctor has surprisingly pitted. Now I'm wondering what that was for, whether he's had an incident or whether there's been a disconnect, because now he has started to tumble a little bit. Well, he's actually dropped down to 10th position ahead of Carroll, and Carroll is just 5.35 seconds. Well, there is Senna Proctor, currently now in P10, so he's behind Jack Mcintyre in 7th, Andy Mellors in 8th, and Ryan Elliott in 9th place. And when we saw that Proctor was battling away with Max Coates for what was 6th on the road a little bit earlier on in the race, and the pair banged door panels. Lead now between Dave Marshall and Isaac Smith is just over 1.5 seconds as we head towards the last 3 and a bit minutes, plus an additional lap here at Paul Ricard for the first of 2 races in the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries. And a week's time, us heading to Circuit Zolder in Belgium, which interestingly enough has a circuit named after the comic book character Michel Vaillant. So we'll be there in just a week's time on the 30th of June. So lap times at the moment, just seen that Luke Whitehead has just put in a 1 minute 32.738, and he is dropping back from Alex Toth-Jones, who looks to cement a 4th place finish. There is Luke Whitehead, 5th place in the Hyundai i30. The black and gold trim. So looks like we've had another improvement on a lap time, and that is from Jack Mcintyre in the 37. So Jack has now gone a 1 minute 32.021. There he is in 7th place. VRRC JMR Honda Civic TCE. And looks like Mikko Salminen has managed to scarper away a little bit from Rich Hayden to the tune of around, I think that's about 1.8 seconds. So just under 2 minutes remaining. Marshall's lead now is being slightly truncated by Isaac Smith. Rob Butler rounds out the top 3. Alex Toth-Jones about 2.6 seconds behind Rob Butler in the MSL Motorsport Hyundai i30. So Luke Whitehead making it another Hyundai in the top 5. Max Coates makes it another Honda in the top 6. So in many respects, he's done a great job starting in P13. Having got up to 6th, as there was a bit of a melee in the first race earlier on. So looks like Kobe Leakin's car is a bit worse for wear, and I've got a feeling that might be crabbing. I mean, look at the front windscreen, the same as Harry Omerod, and he's trying to use, I think he's trying to have to really be delicate with how the car actually is turning into the corners at the moment. Let's see if we can get an outside shot. Luke Heights of JR's Sim Racing. Is Luke Bennett racing today? Unfortunately not, as far as I'm aware, in this series, but Kobe Leakins down in 18th position, as we have just 35 seconds on the clock to go, and Isaac Smith is closing, and closing quite considerably, has done so over the last couple of laps. So Marshall, here is Isaac Smith. Look how much closer he is to the back of the number 66 VRRC DMR 66 Honda, as they will now, timer will expire, but Dave Marshall will cross the finish line literally seconds before, if we're lucky. So the timer has expired, so the session, the 20 minutes timer has now concluded. So effectively we look to be on the final lap. I'll just have confirmation of that in just a second as they go through the chicane off for the final time, and they are heading up towards down the Mistal, down towards Courbe des Cygnes, where it is literally flat chat, foot to the floor, and turn right and hope you can hold on to something in the process. And that is a pretty good commitment from both Marshall and Smith as they go to the double droit de Bossé. Bit of a lock up there I sensed from Marshall, or was that probably the car just up ahead? But it's been pretty interesting seeing these two battle over the last 20 or so minutes as they head into the Courbe de Garbalin. That's Paul Laramie getting out of the way. So Virage de la Tour and then the Virage du Pont are the last couple of corners here at the club circuit at Paul Ricard. So out of the final corner, let's see, do we get the checkered flag this time around? And it is the final lap, so Dave Marshall has to hang on, as Isaac Smith will have to throw everything apart from the kitchen sink at the number 66 VRRC DMR Honda Civic. As just up ahead they have got John Cole in the 302. It's just dependent on how quickly the pair do actually catch up. Max Coates sitting pretty well in 6th position. So after what has been an interesting first race of the 20 race calendar, taking place at 10 different circuits across multiple different continents, including Asia, United States of America, and also Australia. So through the double droit de Bossé, a bit of a lock up there from Isaac Smith, but I think he's going to settle for second. Reason being, in a championship, it is a marathon, not a sprint. Very, very shortly, the checkered flag is being prepared for our first winner. The new season of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries, brought to you in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. So taking what will be a 12-point lead in the standings as we head into race 2 a bit later on. It is the number 66 of Dave Marshall that takes the checkered flag in the 66 Honda. Just fractionally ahead by about 1.1 seconds ahead of Isaac Smith. Rob Butler very shortly will cross the start-finish line to round out the podium here at the club circuit of Paul Ricard in Le Castellet, not too far outside of Marseille. Alex Toth-Jones will very soon be crossing the line to finish in P4 ahead of Luke Whitehead. Max Coates will also take the checkered flag, started in 13th position, will end up in P6 at the end of it. Jack Mcintyre in 7th place. There's a few more across the line as Mellors in the 92 crosses in 8th position. Here's Senna Proctor. He will end up 13th at the end of it all. Andy Carroll rounds out the top 10 positions ahead of Kenny Press with the number 7 of James West from Gamermuscle. He will be in 12th position ahead of Senna Proctor, who now crosses the line. We wait for Mikko Salminen and Rich Hayden, who very shortly will also be crossing the line. I think Salminen's just done so. Hayden has just done so. So is Cole in the 302. Paul Laramie and Kobe Leakins, with unfortunately Chris Smiley not finishing the race, and also Harry Omerod rounding out the top 20. But Dave Marshall takes a 12-point lead going into the reverse grid race a little bit later on in our coverage here of the opening round of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car E-Series, brought to you in association with Motorsport at MSL Motorsport Consultancy. See you in just a moment.
Two, one.
Right, we go to our press conference with our top 3. First of all, a man who really needs no introduction when it comes to the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car E-Series and our inaugural winner, Dave Marshall. Dave, you now have a 12-point lead in the standings after pole position in qualification and now 50 points. But it wasn't easy. I think both the likes of Isaac and Rob caught you very quickly, as you said that it was going to be difficult on the start phase, wasn't it?
Yeah, it definitely wasn't easy, was it? Yeah, terrible start. Tried to just ease it off in first gear and just completely bogged it. Isaac got the jump. I tried to block the inside as much as I could, but I'm not going to push him off in, this early on into the championship or try and defend too hard. So let him go past and then also missed me braking point. Which I think saw me down to 3rd place, and I thought, well, it's a brilliant way to start the first race of the season. But then realised how hard it was going to be to follow a car and see the tyre bills. But luckily enough, got a great run out the chicane on the back of Isaac's bumper, and just went for it quite early on into the race, and luckily managed to hold on to the lead. But God, he kept the pressure on when I was wanting to try and back off a bit. So fair play to Isaac. Good race.
Yeah, very much the case. I think you were very much a man of your word when you said to me, if he gets past me, wait for me to throw one back at him, and you threw a haymaker of your own, and that was really good to see. Isaac, let's go to you. I mean, you kept Dave under pressure pretty much from the word go. As soon as the lights went out, you had the jump on him, but this is a 20-round championship, and it's all about consistency as well. So when you knew that you had an opportunity to close up, did you sort of like think, well, actually, I've got the reverse grid race coming up. I need to save the car a little bit. I don't want to push too hard.
Yeah, it was exactly that. Obviously, I made a couple of mistakes to start with when I should have been pushing for the gap. And obviously, Dave caught up, and he made the move. It was as fair as that. And brilliant race by Dave. He's extremely fast, and it is tough to keep with him. Yeah,
very much the case. Obviously, now we've got the reverse grid lineup for race 2. What are your thoughts going into that? Because obviously, both you and Dave and Rob will be pretty much at the back end of the grid. It's going to be about just sort of mitigating circumstances and just keeping out of trouble.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting, but obviously, with me doing a lot of racing since a very young age, I've got very, very good racecraft, so I expect to be able to make my way through the field from the start.
Well, all the very best of luck, Isaac. We'll finally turn to Rob Butler. Rob, pretty good result there, P3 in the opening race of the championship. What were your thoughts about how you? Just tell us about the race from your perspective.
I had a delta in mind in terms of time of where I needed to be at to try and save the tyres. Probably a little bit out at that at the start of the race. I lost a bit of ground, and I was hoping they were going to come back to me after 5 or 6 laps, but they didn't. So all in all, I'm just looking at my tyre wear on the screen as we speak, and I've still got 3/4 of my front left tyre left, which is very, very strange since we've been doing some testing yesterday, and I was just absolutely eating the tyre. So yeah, don't know what's changed, but look, Dave and Isaac have been super fast yesterday and today in testing, so it's just a matter of trying to get through this reverse grid unscathed. It's as you said, it's a 20-round championship, and yeah, we're just trying to beat Dave, and the only way we're going to beat him is consistency, because he's got the speed.
Yeah. I mean, just one final question, Rob, before we wrap things up for the press conference here at Paul Ricard, virtually speaking. Obviously, going through Sena and Boucher, you guys are absolutely throwing the cars in, and no wonder you said, I've got about 3/4 of my left tyre still to go, but I hate to think what the right front is like. That must be near the cords or something.
Yeah, it's actually not too bad. That's the issue. I thought I'd absolutely kill the front tyres, and I haven't. So, which is very, very strange. Look, the risk. This is one of the riskiest tracks on the calendar. Maybe here in Bathurst, where you got the walls, but you've tyre bales on the insides of some of the corners and heavy duty curbs. If you get it wrong at all, it's race over. So, just to get out of here unscathed, especially in this next race, is going to be very, very difficult following in traffic. But I think we've got enough speed to get through us into the top 10, and that'll be the aim.
Okay, well, Dave, Isaac, Rob, thank you very much for your time. Good luck for the reverse grid race.
Cheers, Alex.
Cheers.
So there we go. 1 race down, 19 to go, and the reverse grid race is up in just a few moments' time. But yeah, what a great start to things. Hopefully, very shortly we'll be getting the action back underway here at Paul Ricard. So join us very shortly for the reverse grid race for race number 2, set to be a classic here at Paul Ricard.
is Rich Hayden. I own Virtual Reality Racing Club. We're here at Goodwood Festival of Speed. I'm here with Purple Sector Performance, which is a race driver training, all levels, club championship, all the way up to Le Mans level. What we do is we help them out with race simulation and driver coaching, and we do that using our SimRace Pro simulators, which you see behind me. They're really high level.
Away, and there is absolute pandemonium here at Paul Ricard in the reverse grid race 2. They caught us unawares there, didn't they? As there's one of the Honda Civics going a bit wide, as Paul Laramie again, when he starts on the front row in a reverse grid race, whenever I've commentated on him, as there's Mcintyre and Carroll going side by side through the chicane. So Leekens leads from Salminen, Rich Hayden in third. Senna, Proctor and James West, that rounds out the top 5. We've got 19 minutes and it's 3 wide into Sena. Oh my goodness me. Who would have thought that would have been possible? Only in a tin top. As someone goes very, very wide off of the exit of Sena. Oh, and someone's had a roll. Has someone had a roll over the back part of the circuit? And is that Rob Butler? I think that was Rob Butler that had an absolute moment there, and the car ended up on at least 2 wheels. He's at the back part of the grid. Toth-Jones is at the back part of the grid. As Salminen up the goes towards the outside of Leekens. Hayden in the mix there too. As oh no, he gets turned around by Senna Proctor ever so quickly, and then here comes Ryan Elliott, who's got James West just up ahead in the number 7 Alfa Romeo. We do say that reverse grid races are incredibly spicy, and this one has definitely hit the high factors. It's Rich Hayden and James West tangle, and also that means that Ryan Elliott had to avoid. That's put Senna Proctor back up into P3. 18 minutes plus a lap still to go. Wow. If ever you would have thought how much carnage can you get away with in a virtual reality race, I think you might have seen quite a bit of that just then. And that was through the exit of Pined at the other part of the circuit. Remember, we are on the club circuit here, 2.369 miles, 3.812 kilometres. It's a circuit that's not really used that much in terms of international or domestic competition, but it does provide great racing, especially in the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries, brought to you in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. Oh, Leekens runs wide through the Courbe de Gavbalat, I think. Or was that? No, that was the Virage de Bendor. They go through the Courbe de Gavbalat into the Virage de la Tour. As Elliot up the inside of Whitehead, that's for position. Through into P4, they bang door panels. Elliot gets a bit aggressive as they go through the Virage du Pont, but Whitehead still in 4th position at the minute. My goodness me, this is absolutely, there's fireworks everywhere, and we're not even in Chinatown. We're here in virtually speaking in Le Castellet. So Elliott and Whitehead scrapping over 4th position. The Golf getting a good run through the first couple of corners. To the Mistral, through into the chicane there will go very shortly. A bit more curb hopping there from Kobe Leekens. That's scrubbing off so much speed as Senna Proctor is trying to close on the Alfa Romeo for what is 2nd position. And he's got him. Has he got him before seeing? He has. Great work by Senna Proctor, now leading the MSL Motorsport trio. And at the moment, Alex Toth-Jones is down in 15th position. Chris Smiley still down in 19th place. So it's not been a good race meeting for the Irishman. Running with Accelerating the BTCC this year, having spent a couple of seasons with Bert Taylor and the guys at BTC Racing. We now have Tom Chilton, Josh Cook and Michael Kreese in their 3-car lineup for 2020. As Leekens again losing a bit of ground to Senna Proctor as Elliott sneaks up the inside of the Virage du Pont, sends the Hyundai wide. And now they are pretty much even Steven, line astern, side by side. And that Hyundai has a bit of pace there, so he's catching Elliot, but he's not going to chance it around the outside into turn 1, is he? No. Very sensible there, as Max Coates and John Cole are swapping positions. And there is Isaac Smith. Isaac Smith has got his way up into what is P9. They're absolutely scrabbling all over each other. Marshall up into P12. And just behind John Cole is Jack Mcintyre. Then you've got Rob Butler, who's now recovered all the way up to P10. Oh, no! Oh, Mcintyre off in the chicane! Mcintyre off in the chicane! And there is Salminen, who's being closed on by Max Coates. Dave Marshall has set another fastest lap. So that basically means that if he got the fastest lap in race 1, he's got a considerable margin at the minute. So that would put him on 62 points. As Leakins loses out to Whitehead, who goes around the outside of the Alfa Romeo through the exit part of the Double Droit de Bossé. In the Rich Energy, in the Rich Energy liveried Hyundai i30. He's running under the Luke Whitehead Racing banner, the LWR banner. So these cars will look pretty much second-hand when they come into the pits a little bit later on. We've got 13 3/4 minutes plus an additional lap. This is absolutely interesting, as now the lead is in the hands of Senna Proctor. And he has a gap of 2.2 seconds ahead of Ryan Elliott, Luke Whitehead, Corby Leakins, Max Coates. That's your top 5. Coates now sets the personal best. Marshall now up into 8th position, and he's going up the inside. I think that is of Kenny Press through turn 1. So he got the position. He's up into P8. He's got John Cole just up ahead in the Bod Racing Honda Civic, as Isaac Smith trying to get his way past Kenny Press. And Marshall goes to right. Cole then goes to right, and then Marshall sends it up the inside through the chicane. So nicely done by the 66. Smith trying to get past the Peugeot press, as Cole, I think, just hit the tyre stack. He did, and he's been thrown into the line of traffic. Oh, and he's been rolled over! He's been rolled over. Rich Hayden's gone too! My goodness me! Drama and absolute catastrophe for John Cole and Rich Hayden. So Cole hit the tyre stack, ended up in the racing line, and then all of a sudden, someone collected him, and it was poor old Rich Hayden. Oh my goodness, someone get me my medication and the defibrillator on standby, because that was well and truly a heart in the mouth moment. So Kobe Leakins still running well in the number 44 Alfa Romeo Giulietta TCE as we go on board with the number 44 behind Luke Whitehead in the LWR Hyundai i30N TCE. Leakins has just set a personal best, but is only half a tenth off of what Whitehead just did. Marshall has been passed by Rob Butler, it looks like. So Marshall down in 7th position. Kenny Press behind Andy Mellors in now what is so Press now down into P10. Toth-Jones has come through along with Chris Smiley. Smiley's up to P12. Toth-Jones now into P13. Carroll's down to 14th. So the two Hyundais from MSL Motorsport working together. A bit of a lock-up from one of the i30s just then. Into the chicane might have been Toth-Jones having to put the anchors on as he's behind his teammate. And Smiley can see that he's there. Toth-Jones goes towards the outside, heading into Sena. And the Hyundais are going side by side. And nearly Toth-Jones turns back in onto the asphalt rather than the curbing and slots back in behind his teammates. Good racing from these two drivers. As Rich Hayden and, John Cole's back out on circuit. So Rich Hayden, I think, is going to be repairing quite a bit of extensive damage after the rollover. As again, Toth-Jones and Smiley still battling away over 12th place. Smiley gets the cut back through the Virage du Pont, but Toth-Jones gets the better run out of the final corner. Down the straightaway they go, heading to Pined, which is the first couple of corners here at the club circuit at Port Ricard circuit in Le Castellet, not too far off of Marseille. And Toth-Jones gets a bit later on the brakes on Smiley, the inside. Goes the number 11 on the number 22. So Toth-Jones and Smiley need to stop battling. If they want to get themselves up into the top 10, they need to work together, as there's a bit of a lock-up from the back of Smiley's I-30. So Proctor leads. The gap now between him and Ryan Elliott is 9/10 of a second. No, make that 8/10. It's dropping all the time as the Golf is on the charge. It's just up ahead. That is Andy Mellors. I think that might be Jack Mcintyre that's just got Kenny Press for P10. There is Proctor, and they've got Rich Hayden up ahead, and Elliot is closing the gap quite considerably, down to 6/10 of a second. A little bit of a lock-up, ever so slightly. You can see the smoke trails coming off of the left rear tyre on the number 18, as Rich Hayden, I think, is now going to... he's gone to the right-hand side of the circuit just to get out of the way. 9 minutes to go, plus an additional lap. Proctor's lead being absolutely truncated. It's been chipped away like a lumberjack with a big axe by Ryan Elliott, as that's very close indeed. Rich Hayden tries to keep on the inside line. Both Proctor, Elliott, now Luke Whitehead not that far adrift, as Rich Hayden has a moment there. Now, did he catch something with the back end of that Audi, and that's got into the barriers on the same point where he rolled over after John Cole just a couple of laps ago? And Kobe Leakins not too far behind the number 21 LWR Hyundai. So pretty much it has been Hyundai versus Volkswagen in the reverse grid race here. Dave Marshall has done a pretty good job starting from pretty much the back of the grid, and he's P6, and he's got about 1.9 seconds between himself and Max Coates, who in the meantime is around half a second quicker than Kobe Leakins. Max Coates in P5, Leakins in 4th in that in the positional order. Dave Marshall is running in the low 131s. He's put in a 131.468 on completing lap number 8. We're on lap 9 at the moment, about to complete said lap and go on to double figures, as that's a bit of a run wide there for Luke Whitehead, and that's going to allow Leakins to close some sort of distance. But the gap now, look at how close Elliot is. He's in the slipstream. I think probably in a couple of laps time he might have a better run on Senna Proctor. But Proctor doing enough at the moment, considering the fact that the number 18 had a 2.2 second gap before Elliot started hacking away at it with complete disregard to the wind. Toth-Jones gets past Kenny Press for P11, and just up ahead from him, around a second up the road, or 2.9 seconds up the road, is Jack Mcintyre. So Alex Toth-Jones looking to get a top 10 finish after a top 5 in the first race. You can see the Excite Energy livery on the side of his Hyundai i30N. Excite Energy actually run by one of the directors is Ollie Bennett from World RX in the Mini. Good to see that represented here. We have 6 minutes and 23 seconds to go, plus an additional lap in our second and exciting reverse grid race here at Paul Ricard. As here's Elliot, we're on board with him right on the back bumper of the Hyundai i30. He sends it up the inside of Proctor to get the lead through on the final corner. I thought it was going to be a couple of laps, but Elliot just kept chipping away and proved me wrong without a shadow of a doubt there to take the lead on lap number 11 that we're going to go on to now. But it's one thing to get the lead, it's another thing to keep it in this respect. And Senna Proctor now has the opportunity thrown back in his corner. So the ball's in his court this time, having led pretty much convincingly, as Chris Smiley, going around the inside of Kenny Press into the first corner, takes now what is 12th position. Number 22 takes the position away from the Peugeot driver. So Rich Hayden has now pitted once again. So at the moment 19 cars Still circulating as Mikko Salminen gets past Paul Laramie for 15th place. So it's Elliot leading by 0.7 of a second from Proctor. Whitehead in third, Leekens in fourth, Coates in fifth, Marshall, Butler, Smith, Mellors and Mcintyre round out the top 10. Alex Toth-Jones and Chris Smiley complete the top 12 ahead of Kenny Press, Harry Ormanrod in 14th, Mikko Salminen, Paul Laramie, Andy Carroll, James West, who is now on your screens at home via his stream, but also in the top right is what's currently happening as we have just over 4.5 minutes remaining of this race. Then it is John Cole from Bod Racing in the 302 Honda Civic, and Rich Hayden, I think, has called it a day for one evening. So now Ryan Elliott has got a half-second lead. We'll make that 0.8 ahead of Senna Proctor in the number 18 Hyundai. And Luke Whitehead in the LWR 21 Hyundai i30N makes it a Hyundai 2-3. With Leekens making it 3 different manufacturers in the top 4. You make it 4 with Max Coates and Dave Marshall in 5th and 6th respectively. But Marshall, I think, is closing on Coates, and Coates is closing on Leekens. So already, as we now head to 3 minutes and 40 plus an additional lap, a little bit of a twitchiness from the front end while steering from Luke Whitehead going through into senior corner. The lock up there from Senna Proctor. It's got to be Leekens now coming under fire from 2 Honda Civics in the form of Max Coates. Leading Dave Marshall, not too far behind them is Rob Butler, our 3rd place finisher from the opening race. And then you've also got Isaac Smith, our runner-up from race 1. This is going to get really, really dicey, and it is now a 5-car scrap for P4. 3 minutes and 10 plus an additional lap left to go. Elliot now has a lead of nearly a second, 1.2 seconds over Senna Proctor as Marshall sends it up the inside of Coates. But through the virage du port as Coates sends it up the inside of Leekens. Marshall gives Leekens a bump from behind. Coates tries to shut the door. Butler up behind. Smith has got a triple toe as they go down the start-finish straight. And Dave Marshall, Rob Butler might have the jump on Max Coates if they both get through into turn 1. It's going to be an absolute miracle. Marshall makes it through. It's nearly 3 abreast. But then it was side by side ever so briefly. Coates to the outside. And he's going to go round the outside of Marshall to take the position back. That's P4 for Max Coates heading into the chicane. Butler up the inside into the middle of the pair of them. Coates gets through, takes the position. Marshall bumps Butler, who bumps into Coates. Smith just there too. Kobe Leekens demoted all the way down to P8. Absolutely dynamite tin top racing here at Ricard as Coates trying to go keep it towards the inside. Butler to the outside. Marshall gets the ringside seat as they go through into the double droite de Bossé. And Coates is still hanging on with just under 2 minutes on the clock remaining. Wow, this is absolute dynamite action. But Proctor has closed the gap on Elliot. The battle for the lead is going to come down to the wire. Marshall up the inside of Butler, making it side by side between the 2 Hondas. And Marshall gets ahead for the next corner and gets the inside run. Smith goes up the inside of Butler, but Butler will have the inside run going into the virage du pont. And look at the front battle now. Elliot still leads, but it's about 0.7 of a second back to Senna Proctor, who is being closed on by Luke Whitehead. Max Coates still leads what is now that's a great interesting move as Smith to the outside of Butler into turn 1. Butler keeps the inside line, keeps the position. Smith keeping it round the outside but can't get through. He can't do a Max Coates. And Coates has scarpered away from Marshall. So Max Coates doing an absolutely brilliant job. But the battle for second and third really quite heating up as we're into the last 43 seconds. Plus an additional lap of this race. And that's why we've gone side by side, because we don't want you to miss one iota of the action here at Paul Ricard in France. So the double droite de Bossé is being negotiated by Elliot, Proctor and now Whitehead. There's another lock-up there. Was that Proctor? I sense it might have been, but Isaac Smith trying to still battle away with Rob Butler as Max Coates being pressurised by Dave Marshall. That's the battle for 4th place. So we're fast approaching. I think after this, yes, it's going to be 1 lap to go. We will not get to the start-finish line as the timer has now expired. 20 minutes are up. And when Ryan Elliott crosses the start-finish line, it's 1 lap to go. It's all or nothing. It's put up or shut up. Now is the time to strike whilst the iron is hot. And Dave Marshall is swarming all over the back bumper of Max Coates. This is allowing Rob Butler and Isaac Smith to come back into the battle for what is P4. As Proctor fends off Whitehead through the first corner. Whitehead drops back a little bit there, so he's going to look to be ending up in P3 at the end of it all. But Coates not. He's out of the frying pan and quite clearly into the Honda Civic fire that is being provided by Mr. Dave Marshall. And Marshall is going to have a pretty substantial lead in some respects because he got the Grand Chelem and he's got Coates. He's gone side by side with Coates, heading down into scene for the final time, but Coates will have the inside run. It's about who's bravest between these two Hondas, and it's Coates that gets through first. So very shortly, the lead between first and second, Ryan Elliott, has got 1.1 seconds of daylight between himself and Senna Proctor, because very, very shortly the checkered flag will be prepared. As again, Coates battling away with Marshall. Marshall not giving up until the final corner, until the checkered flag, because very, very shortly we'll head to our leaders. And here is the leader coming around the final corner. Ryan Elliott from RSR has done a number on Senna Proctor, and he will take the checkered flag for race 2 reverse grid here at Paul Ricard in the Volkswagen Golf. So what a job by Ryan Elliott to take the checkered flag, winning ahead of Senna Proctor. Luke Whitehead rounds out the top 3. It's going to be Max Coates that takes P4, fractionally ahead of Dave Marshall. What a job by Rob Bartlett to keep Isaac Smith at bay for 6th place. Jack Mcintyre will round out the top 8 ahead of Andy Mellors. Alex Toth-Jones takes top 10 in 10th place. Kenny Press will finish ahead of Chris Smiley, who complete the top 12. Mikko Salminen in P13. Harry Omenrod will very shortly cross the line to finish in 14th place. Paul Laramie, who started on the front row, will finish in P15 at the end of this race. And then we will have James West in 16th place, Kobe Leakins. 16th place, Kobe Leakins in 18th place, with John Cole and Rich Hayden actually calling it a day earlier on in the race. But very shortly, we'll be speaking to our top 3 here as Ryan Elliott takes the win here at an exciting race 2 here at Paul Ricard. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our top 3 press conference here at Paul Ricard for the 2nd reverse grid race. What an exciting one here at the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries. Let's have a chat with our winner from RSR, Ryan Elliott. Ryan, congratulations, great job, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, thank you very much, Alex. I really enjoyed that one. It came off a lot better than race 1. Starting from 10th, I knew I had to work my way through, but I had faith. I knew I had the pace to come through, and I felt like I put in some really good moves throughout the race, and I'm just happy to come out with a win. Especially good start to the year. They always say the first one's the hardest, so now I can only go forward.
Yeah, going from strength to strength there. But yeah, I mean, just talk about it was a very, very difficult first turn in race 1. Just obviously you dropped down the order, you had to recover, and it was a difficult way of catching up. But just talk to us about it from your perspective.
I think someone, obviously first race of the season, someone might have just missed the breaking point. It happens to everyone. Unfortunately, it was me that was on the receiving end. But then at the same time, that gave me an alright position to where I knew I could go forward for this race. So it wasn't the end of the world. I mean, I've got plenty of races ahead of me. Like I said, loads more for this season. So just keep going from strength to strength. Keep getting them points in. It all adds up to a championship. It's not done in one race.
Definitely. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Thank you very much, Ryan. Very, very well done. And we look forward to seeing you at Zolder in just a week's time.
Thank you very much.
So now we head to our runner-up, Senna Proctor from the MSL Motorsport crew. Senna, that was a really, really great race between you and Ryan all the way through. But obviously, you know, you held on for so long. But he just had the toe. I mean, it must have been a bit of a difficult one to sort of try and fight back after he'd got the run on you a bit earlier on in the race.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was a good race for me. You know, he had some great pace, and I was managing it quite well. And I think I just overworked the tyres a little bit. I think I knew I had the podium pace for the podium. So once he put it underneath me, I knew that it was kind of not worth fighting, and I tried to live to fight for another day. But I think after a disappointing first race, I'm really chuffed to get a podium in my first eSeries race. So yeah, really happy with that, and long may it continue for the rest of the season, hopefully.
Brilliant. Well, look forward to seeing you in action at Zolder in just a week's time, Senna. Well done, mate, and have a good rest of the evening.
Thank you. Cheers.
Now we'll head to our final driver on the rostrum. From LWR, the number 21 of Luke Whitehead. Luke, you were definitely in the thick of things, I think, with Ryan and Senna. But you were catching Senna in the latter stages, but there were a couple of mistakes. I think Senna alluded to that with the tyres sort of going off as the race proceeded, but it was all carambolage at the start, wasn't it?
It was very difficult to pick my way through, really, because I was just started quite near the back. But fortunately, everything kind of unfolded, allowing me to get through quite easily. But didn't quite have the pace to challenge Ryan and Senna at the end. But we were just there, but not quite close enough. And obviously, as you said, I made a couple of mistakes as well, particularly on the last lap, nearly spinning, which was a bit of a rookie moment for me. But yeah, apart from that, I'm absolutely ecstatic.
Obviously, this will give you great motivation going into the next round 2 races at Zolder in just a week's time. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of practice for you ahead of that one, because it's a tight and twisty technical circuit there at Zolder.
Definitely. From what I've done as well around that track, I very much enjoy it. So hopefully I should be okay around there. Obviously, yeah, as you said, tight and twisty. So hopefully just keeping out of trouble. As Ryan said as well, it's a long old championship. So as long as you keep out of trouble in the early stages, you should be poised for later on in the year.
Well, brilliant. Well done, Luke. Look forward to seeing you in a week's time at Zolder.
All right. Thank you very much. Take care.
No problem at all. Last but by no means least, we've got to speak to the man behind the Virtual Reality Racing Club himself. I thought I was going to be speaking to him earlier, but that was my mistake. Rich Hayden joins me. Rich, I'm not going to talk about the race 2 because I know it was a difficult one, because obviously you got collected when John had that issue with the tyre barrier. But the first 2 races of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries at Paul Ricard have been somewhat a way that the season should have started in earnest, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, let's not talk about race 1 or 2 for me.
No, I'm leaving that to Pastor right now. Don't worry about that.
I seemed to come blindsided and collect 2 people after they'd hit the tyre barrier, and 1 on each race. So it just ended both my races, unfortunately. Too much damage. I pitted, but it was just too much damage. I couldn't carry on. My steering wheel was 90 degrees to the left, which was fun. But yeah, other than that, what a great start. Some really good racing there. I was just talking to the guys in the voice channel, and they really enjoyed it. So that's the main thing for me, that everybody's enjoying the racing. It was proper touring car racing, which is great.
Exactly. I can't wait until Zolder in a week's time. And then obviously the calendar we've got: Monza, Barcelona, Brands Hatch, Grand Prix, Snetterton 300. Then we go to Sepang, Shanghai, Bathurst, and then secondly the Americas. What a way to end the season, one big track like here at Paul Ricard, and then we go to Kota for the season finale. I can't wait, and I know that you're looking forward to seeing all the action unfold as much as I am.
Absolutely, yeah. I've tried to pick some varied circuits around the world and give everybody a little bit of variation, but yeah, I can't wait to get on with it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Rich. I think we'll have, if he's up for it, one final interview, who is currently in with us in the live broadcast. Corby Leekins in one of the 2 Alfa Romeo Giuliettas on the grid. Colby, very, very good, better race for you in race 2, but obviously it wasn't easy because you had the likes of Max Coates, Dave Marshall, Rob Butler and all that lot chasing you down quite significantly, but you held on as best you could, didn't you?
Yeah. I was actually driving fourth for a long time, but then they just all overtook me, and then I didn't know what happened. Maybe I made a small mistake, someone pushed me, or because I crashed into the tire wall, and my engine was dead again, so I'm last again. Well,
all the very best of luck next time out at Zolder, Corby, but thank you very much for taking part. Really, and as they say, it's not just about the winning, it's about the taking part, and I'm glad that everyone's been enjoying the racing here. That's it from us here at a virtual Paul Ricard in Le Castellet in France for the opening round of the Virtual Reality Racing Club Touring Car eSeries, brought to you in association with MSL Motorsport Consultancy. My name's Alex Goldschmidt. See you next week in Zolder. Just 7 days until we go racing one more time. Thanks for watching.